Want some candy?
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
I hear you looking for candy, man, bitch.
Give me some sugar, baby. Like scary movies.
Want some candy?
Tarzan Boy?
Welcome to Monster Candy Pod fucking cast. Oh, 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 jungle life.
I don't even know the words.
Afternoon.
Oh my god.
Life and I'm in your
You don't even sound right here. Those aren't even words.
You. Oh, 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 oh. What are you doing over there? Are you farting? Oh my god. Is that actually Tarzan?
Alright.
Is Tarzan actually in here?
Welcome back, everybody. It's
Whoa.
Monster Candy Podcast time.
God damn it, why'd you turn off the music?
You know what? Because it needed to be done. It needed to be done.
God damn it.
Shotzi the Great and Terrible. Hi, everyone. My name is Dominic. I'm here with Screamin E.
Oh,
what
And
up?
Shotzi Blackheart.
Yo.
We are currently in Southern California because we've been at Monsterpalooza.
We're in this sleazy hotel room. There's cockroaches just crawling all over me.
Shotzi shit on the floor.
There's bed bugs in my eye holes.
She's literally in bed as we do this podcast. I just want to make sure the blankets are over her. She's lying down.
Cuddled in.
Shitting in the bed as we speak.
I wouldn't go that far, but I would definitely say she's in there.
Definitely shitting in the bed.
Defecatingly shitting in the bed. I don't.
And I'm on my period.
Death and defecation in the after
Blood
hours.
and poop.
It's real G.G.
I
Allen
don't
up in
know
this
why it's getting
motherfucker.
grosser and grosser the longer I let them talk. So I'm just going to go forward with welcome back. We're about to do an episode on both Monsterpalooza and Pet Sematary, the brand new Pet Sematary. Because apparently we have a promise about the old Pet Sematary.
The 2019 Pet Cemetery.
Apparently we're not going to do the old one yet, but we'll do the old Pet Sematary another time,
When we
correct?
fucking feel like it.
The sass that is coming from you eating Cheez-Its while you're laying in bed.
Cheese and grooves, bitch.
Pretty fucking gross.
So, welcome to the episode. We're really glad to be doing another new one for you guys. Today and yesterday we spent at Monsterpalooza. What'd you guys think of it?
It was awesome. But wait. This is something I wanted to talk about
Oh my god.
Okay.
for the past couple episodes, but I kept forgetting.
Okay, go.
That annoys the shit out of me, since we're not going to get into like a horror news and just do a recap of the
Your voice
fucking
annoys me.
thing. Oh my god, I'm going to strong arm this hoe. Anyway, what the fuck is up with all these horror VHS, like the newfound love for them? Like everyone's into VHS tapes again. They suck. They're the worst. They're like fucking the whole cassette tape craze.
Well, I think it's more of a like decorative thing.
No, people are like, oh my god, I love it. And they're watching. I'm like, just, oh.
I think it's the
annoys
same
me.
as the cassettes craze, like the reason why people are putting music out on
I
cassettes.
think, and it's like nostalgic.
I don't give a
Yeah,
fuck.
Right? It's
That's the
Nostalgic
worst.
and collectors.
Nostalgic
Yeah.
my balls.
They stopped making
Oh.
VCRs.
With
there are no new
VHS
VCRs
tapes.
being made, so
Oh.
you have to get a VCR that already exists.
Dude, it's the
and You have
worst.
to keep it
I
working.
had a Nickelodeon VCR.
You had a Nickelodeon brand VCR?
This
It
was
was
like 3 years ago.
orange, yo.
Weird. Anyway, I think it's the same thing as music and the cassette tapes. I
It
think
drives
anytime
me nuts because
everybody's super on this vintage, like, kind of collector's kick, and I think that's what it is. And I think if that's what people like, that's what people like. It doesn't make me mad. It doesn't.
it makes me insane, and I want to punch them out of their hands when I see them taking pictures with them. I want to punch them and burn them. If it's
Is this a new thing? Because in Canada, like years ago when I was at Shock Stock, like that was like all the craze. Like VHS tape. I couldn't even find a DVD.
yeah, it's annoying.
I think there are a lot of people who are super stoked. Were there a lot of tapes at this? I didn't see.
There are some booths, but not necessarily. I just see it a lot on Instagram and shit. I'm just like, I understand if it's like you can't find it or whatever, but DVDs are like fucking $6 now. There's no reason to go out searching for $1 VHS tape.
I think
that
it's just
sucks.
sort of the unique
And it's like the old
experience.
school covers and shit.
I don't give a
like,
fuck.
I do like the old school covers in a sense. Those are fun, but
It's like trying to make 8-track tapes cool again. They were the worst too. Just get a CD, get a DVD. That's my rant.
yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. It doesn't make me mad. It's the same as cassettes. Like, I'm not into it, but I understand that people are. And to me, if they're stoked on horror movies and fun, cool monster movies and sci-fi movies, all more power to them. But I understand that it's, like, it is not the preferred. I didn't like it as a format even back then.
It's annoying.
Like, when I had to use them.
It's people liking annoying shit for the sake of liking annoying stuff because it's retro.
no, I just think it's nostalgic.
Fuck that.
I
get
think,
like
I think it's
It
nostalgic.
brings you back to your childhood.
So does watching a goddamn DVD.
I also think
Bullshit.
there's a certain
Bullshit.
I think there's a certain amount of physicality to it, you know, and I think they're cheap.
And annoying. And I hope everyone that's can afford at least a DVD but is choosing to use the fucking VHS tapes, I hope they all get eaten by the VCRs.
You know, not to contradict my friend here, but it doesn't bother me. I think it's if you find a cool movie and you're enjoying it, dude, hit that play, run that
I don't
tape.
know, my friend has this case just full of old horror VHSs, and I thought it looked really cool. I just thought it was a decorative thing. I didn't think like people were actually watching it.
Well, I'm sure some
I
people
gave
would
my
do dick-
entire VHS collection to my little brother, and he has it all. And he found a VCR that's working, so he could play all these movies. It's just my old collection.
You know, Screamin E, you talk shit,
What?
but you have VHS tapes.
I do.
And you have a VCR.
That are out of print.
All
You
right.
can't find them anymore. All as soon as VHS tapes were like dying out and you couldn't buy them, all the ones that I could buy because DVDs are not fucking expensive, I was just like, I'm not rewinding a fucking tape. I'm just gonna stop and play.
Yeah, rewinding
Yes.
tapes is annoying.
Yeah. Or fast forward. Oh, I want to skip to this part. Oh fuck! I missed that. I gotta rewind it. Like, dumb and annoying.
I definitely feel that way myself, but if somebody likes it, they can like it anyway.
Well, everyone should like what I like. So that's the fucking point of the
I don't
story.
even like what you like.
Well, you should, and that's the point. Anyway,
All right, fair enough. And that, you know, that, ladies and gentlemen, is what grinds E's gears.
Yeah,
what chaps my ass?
there's many ass chaps.
Oh man,
in Screamin E.
I need a lot of ass balm for this chapping I got going on.
Well, did anything chap your ass then about Monsterpalooza this week?
Just the long ass fucking line we had to wait in again for Saturday.
You know, so if those of you who've been listening to the show for a long time might remember the last year, E and I went down there. Shotzi wasn't with us because she was too busy wrestling, but this time she got to experience it with us. Is what happens when you have to buy tickets the day of to get into Monsterpalooza. This year we had to do that for Saturday, but Sunday we already had pre-bought tickets. Let me tell you, the experience is significantly different. And if you have a chance to go to Monsterpalooza, buy tickets as soon as you can and get into that line, because the other line is brutal. Apparently, the reason they only keep 3 ticket boxes open and the line takes 2.5 hours is because they have a limit on how many people they can let in each hour, and that slows that down so they can hit a higher capacity with the fire marshal's rules. So that's all on purpose. So if you're out there in line baking for hours, they are doing that to you on purpose because they can't just let you in fast.
Which we found out, and I'm sure we all can understand that. Be like, okay, we get it. But if that's the case, then they need to facilitate some sort of like cover or water stations or mist stations or whatever for the people that are fucking sitting there. Yeah. Luckily, it wasn't as bad last year because it was probably about 20 degrees cooler.
This year's better.
Yeah, but still, once it gets up to like 90, 95, 100 degrees and you're standing out there for 2 hours.
Yeah, there are goths in that line. There are goths and children, and neither one can take the sun.
Which we found out as you had to so kindly bought a family's ticket because they had children with them. And they're like, we can't stand out here in all this sun.
Yeah, no, I was happy to do it.
So,
but
he was happy.
That was nice. I was getting annoyed with these people.
He was happy, and then as he gave them the tickets, he pushed the little kids down. It's like, here's your ticket, jerk.
He wasn't even with kids. He was with teenagers.
Actually, he did have little kids. When I saw over there, they had some small kids.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Oh, when I looked over, he's with like 3 16-year-olds.
3 40-year-olds.
Well, it ended up being okay because he paid me for my ticket, so I got in for a free day.
Yeah, yeah.
And
that's the thing. I was like, all right, he's going to offer to pay for your ticket. I'm with that. But, you know, when some people come up to you and they're just like, yo, I know you've been waiting for 3 hours, but can you get me my ticket? I know I barely know you, but can you do this?
Yeah,
and I'm going to say yes because I'm a pushover. But
it's a little
don't
cheeky.
fucking do that. Or buy my fucking ticket, you know?
Yeah, you should.
Offer it up.
Give me a little something.
Some sort of compensation.
Yeah, man. I just waited 3 hours in this line and you just think you can come up to me because you slightly know me? I'm sorry. I was pissed off. I was hangry. And I was not having it.
And that's what chaps Shotzi's ass.
That is what chaps my butthole.
So, but once we got in, honestly, I have to say this year I was way more into what I saw there this year than even last year. I think it was even better. There were more sculptors, there were more artists, there were more booths. I mean, I was pretty stoked on everything.
Yeah, there was some good shit. Like, there were a lot of really cool toys. But I promised myself that I would not buy any more toys because as of right now, I have just piles of toys in my closet right now that I don't.
Because she steals them from other people.
I don't know what to do with because I have no room for them. So I'm holding back on the toys unless something really stands out at me. I'm gonna.
You should have got the Tingler.
You actually had so much self-control this year.
I did.
You really did.
Well, it's because she splurged on the first thing she bought.
What did I buy?
Her purse.
Oh yeah, I did buy that purse. I got this rad pumpkin purse.
I got a ton of stuff. I got a bunch of shirts from Cavity Colors. Their stuff is great. London 1888. I love their stuff. I got some stuff from Waxworks Records. I stopped by Super 7. It was awesome. I hit up a ton of booths. My friend Xavier's booth, built from sketch, I highly recommend. His artwork is haunting and amazing. A bunch of sculptors I visited, and I got an Aztec death whistle. I'm so stoked.
I'm louder than that Aztec death whistle.
You really aren't.
Ah!
No, it's really
Ah!
it's
oh my God! Wait, are there Aztecs coming to kill me now?
See?
Probably.
Told you.
No, it's a horror. You
in
guys
LA,
should Google.
so.
You should Google an Aztec death whistle and hear what they sound like because
And you'll be like,
it's
whoa,
Shotzi
Blackheart. That's Shotzi Blackheart.
No, it sounds
Holy
like
fuck.
Shotzi Blackheart in laying in bed being sassy. It does not sound like that.
Ah!
Well, it kind of does, but it sounds way more monstrous. So it's awesome.
Or sickly. It's like.
You guys literally have only heard me slightly blow into this.
Bring it out. Bring it out.
No.
Bring it out.
Way too loud for this.
Yeah. Well, then the candy killers will know themselves.
I'll do a video where I'll do one. I'll do a video. If everyone goes and checks out my Instagram, by the time you hear this, I'll have a video up of me blowing in the Aztec death whistle.
Yeah, I think this year was a good get for a lot of us. Got
Yeah.
posters, shirts,
Yep.
bags.
Yeah,
All kinds of good
I did hear
stuff.
from a lot of friends at Boost, they said that it felt a little slow. Like people weren't buying as much, but I don't know. I think people were definitely flocking to certain things.
Well, what I was getting is that Saturday in the beginning was slow, and then all of a sudden it was like
Picked up.
boom.
Yeah.
So
Friday was supposedly really good. Friday night apparently was busy right out the gate. I don't know. It was awesome. There's a lot of fun stuff. We got a lot of people signing. I'm not going to say anything about any of that, but let's just say you always get surprised when you see actors and actresses and you realize how much time's passed and that they're a lot older than you thought of them because they're immortal on the screen, and then you see them and you're like, oh yeah, that was 20 years ago. So,
but Pee Wee Herman was there, so fuck yeah.
Paul Rubens looks pretty good for how old he is.
He looks awesome.
Yeah. He looks exactly like they said that he did all this stuff to make himself look younger in that last Netflix Pee Wee Herman movie.
Uh-huh.
But I thought he looks like without makeup on, he looks about like that. Like he looks like that. That's what he looked like.
Just looks a little thicker than he used to, but aren't we all?
thing.
Yeah. He's got them cakes. Paul Rubens packing them cakes.
Oh.
He had a good line. I mean, he was clearly busy the whole time. And Bruce Campbell was a big highlight. We went to see his Q&A today.
Oh, it's hilarious.
He was
He
hilarious.
just talked shit the entire time.
Yeah, he
Because
did.
a lot of the questions were dumb.
Yeah.
Word to horror fans. Get a good question beforehand.
Yeah, prepare something
Right.
original.
Write it down on some cards so you're not
yeah,
like,
yeah, maybe write it down.
oh, you know that when you were in that so well, you know when you did that scene with so it was like that cool? That's a dumb question. It's a stupid
That
question.
was actually very much like some of the questions I got.
Just
Yeah.
fucking formulate a coherent, good question that, I mean, by this time he's heard them all.
Hey, Bruce Campbell, when do you plan on doing a blockbuster movie?
First question out of the gate.
That was the first question.
He's
When are you
"Oh,
going to
okay,
do
Mr.
another blockbuster?
That was
Like he has a say in that.
Like,
Yeah.
It's like when people ask me, "Hey, Shotzi, when are you gonna be in the WWE?" I don't know, when maybe when Triple H hits me up. I don't know. Yeah, like that's my that's my decision.
right.
If I
You make yourself available,
if I could
and
be
it
in the
happens.
WWE, I would already be there, wouldn't I? I would not be here.
That's exactly what he said too. He said like, if I was in a blockbuster movie
Yeah.
right now, I wouldn't be here doing
Exactly,
this. I'd be
right.
promoting it in
Yeah.
like Jakarta.
but it made for some great Bruce Campbell answers.
Yes.
Yeah, no, he you could tell that he had like got himself ready for a bunch of terrible
Oh
questions.
yeah, stupid questions led to some very entertaining Bruce Campbell answers.
But you know, there were a few great questions about like he would turn a question that was so into a great question.
Right.
The question of like, you know, like how does he work with directors that don't know what they're doing, you know, which is an interesting question, but one I've heard
that was
before.
a strange question.
It was a weird phrased, and then he was like, no, you just have to know, like as a director you have to know what you're doing, and then ended up telling a story about watching
Sam Raimi
direct Quick and the Dead with Gene Hackman, who was like perfectly ready to like fuck with him the whole time, but then he knew why he was asking everything. I mean,
He flipped the flop on that motherfucker.
yeah, and so he demonstrated like, you know, you just have to come ready. You have to know why are you asking this person to do these things. They may question you back if they're like,
You have to be all
Gene Hackman's gonna test you.
Jedi mind trick shit.
Yeah. But the other things like, you know, if I hear one more like, how do I get started in the movie business or the special effects business? Listen, I'm going to take a moment and answer this question for all of you who want to be in the movie business or the entertainment business or the music business or the special effects business or the wrestling business. I'll even answer this for Shotzi. Do it. Just do it. Find time and do it.
Yeah.
Do it for Halloween. Do it for haunts. Do it for YouTube. Do it for free. Do it after work. Stay up till 4 a.m. and make a project. Go wrestle. Take wrestling classes. Go to the gym. Work out. Start doing it. Learn how to do it. Go to find the local wrestling groups. Find the local haunts or start one yourself. And make these things. Volunteer for a play at a school or the college. Take a makeup course. Do it.
Just do it.
And it's
Get all Shia LaBeouf on us.
I'm not
Do it.
And I'm not
Do
being,
it.
That is pretty funny. I'm not being sanctimonious on you guys because I understand that people have dreams and sometimes it's hard to find the time and it's hard to do it. Yes.
But if you really love
is.
it, you will.
You make the sacrifice.
Yes.
You do the things that you have to do.
Yeah.
I've had to give up on certain things that some of you have. Some of you who are listening to this have certain things in your life that are great things that you've been able to build. And I don't have those things because I chose music and I toured around the country just savagely. And that's how my band got somewhere and finally was noticed and did stuff. And I had to write good songs. I had to learn how to write good songs. I mean, you have to learn how to do makeup. You're going to hate everything you start to do. I don't mean to turn this into a rant, but every time I see any big time actor or person at any of these conventions, the first thing out of people's mouths is, how do I become what you're doing? And they always say the same thing. And I'm telling you this right now because I know there must be some of you listening who want to do something. Just do it. Do it and suck. That's how we all do it.
See, that's the key right there. Suck. Suck a lot, suck often, and suck well. Dicks, buttholes, pussy wussies.
Shut up.
Just get out there and suck a lot of stuff.
The fact is, you're not going to like the first things you do. The first makeup you do, the first movie you make, the first acting, the first songs you write, the first wrestling you try to do. You're going to be terrible, and there are going to be people who aren't going to be into it. And even when you're good at it, I mean, there's people who doesn't like Shotzi. There's just no convincing. There's people who don't like my band. They're never going to be convinced. They can't wait to tell you how much you suck and how much they hate it. Just don't. You can't care. You have to be terrible. You have to start somewhere. And I don't mean to be on a big rant, but if I had something that chapped my ass or grinded my gears, it's just nobody ever wants to hear that simple answer is that you just have to just do it.
Yeah, that sucks that guys don't like you because everyone loves me.
Yeah, I know. You're so lovable.
Awesome, so.
But I mean, it's just how it is. And you know what? Hit us up. We'll talk more about it. But I mean, I just see so many people how do I do it? And he said that today. He's like, just start doing it. And that's it.
Right.
I don't know. And it's never, I guess everybody's waiting for some sort of
magic ticket.
Yeah, and there isn't one.
Here you go. Well, what you got to do is just it.
But there's brutal realities to anything you choose, and that's the other thing you have to understand. You're going to record professional music, you got to know how to play a click, you got to know how to do your craft, you got to be ready to do it over and over again, you have to face criticism. If you're going to wrestle, you have to work your way up. There's a ton of politics. The stuff I've heard from Shotzi alone is very telling. It's just difficult. But you do it because you love it and you can't imagine doing anything else. There's your answer. Don't ask Bruce Campbell that question. That's what he's going to tell you.
He should have said suck a lot of dick. That would have been a great answer.
Sure, he thought it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was a great convention. We all really love Monsterpalooza. It's super fun. I mean, what do you guys? I mean, any large commentaries? Like you said, we all pulled a big haul.
It was cool. It's just a little too big for me.
I think it's probably getting ready to move up.
Yeah.
It's going to have to level up again and go to a bigger place, which is good and bad.
The other ass chapping. Vendors.
One more chap.
Put your fucking booth number on your booth, because at least half of the people didn't, and when you're trying to find shit and the numbers stop halfway in, you're like, where the fuck am I?
How am I gonna find your ass? Why even advertise your booth number if you don't even post up your booth number?
Yeah, I know it's in the guide, but not everyone has the guide. I will say there were
They
a lot
don't
of
give you
people
guides.
who didn't know where to find stuff. And then when I saw on Instagram, there were people who had said, hey, find me at booth number ... And then when I did finally find their booth, not using that number, I had to find it on my own. They didn't have any number up at all. It was just straight up like there was no don't bother putting that your booth number 24789A if you're not going to have any sort of sign that says 24798A with the, you know, the number before it and after it afterwards, because a lot of those numbers break up. They had 400 booths aligned against the wall, and then they had 400 booths in a side room across the entire large hall, and it was like, it made no sense. Like,
Well, plus when you get in there, even if you're looking at the map, right? There's so many fucking people in there that it's easy to miss an aisle, and then you're like, well, it said turn down here.
right.
None of these booths have numbers, so I guess I'll just keep walking. They're not here.
It was tricky to find certain booths, I have to admit. Like, you had to really hunt for them.
So put your fucking booth numbers out.
That'd be good. I wish the signs above the aisles had the numbers of what.
Or
they're
even
supposed to
that,
be.
just-
like, you know, that would have been the help. Then they don't need to put their booth numbers, because then I'd go, oh, this is the 400 aisle. I can see.
Right.
There they are. Okay, I'll find so and so. But yeah, that's a pretty minor complaint. All said and done, I like how the coolest thing I overheard was I saw this teenager. This dude was like, oh man, I can't believe there's so many people here, and I expected him to like hate on it, but he was like, where are all these people in my everyday life? I miss all these people. I need more of them. It was cool. It was.
Art is cool. Like, when we first started going to Monsterpalooza, it was very humble.
Yeah.
And it has grown immensely.
It was a grower, not a shower.
Yes, it's a grower.
It was awesome. There are a ton of people there. I don't know. I kept seeing.
If you can't handle crowds, though, go to Son of Monsterpalooza, which is in September. It's a lot smaller, not as many guests, but you know, if you want to buy shit,
yeah,
it's a good opportunity to buy shit.
Great vendors.
Yeah.
Honestly, I always joke that Halloween is the time that I spend money to put stuff in my house. But now I have to say Monsterpalooza is one of the times where I spend the money to decorate my house. So it was awesome.
Woo!
Yeah. All right. It's time.
I
Oh,
don't
boy.
want to be buried in a pet cemetery.
Sometimes dead is better. Pet Sematary. We saw it last night at the ArcLight
Last night.
in Pasadena. All right.
Pet Sematary is one of my favorite films. Like
The
the
old one.
original. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's so fucking good. And what's that guy's name? Zombie dude, his conscience guy.
Oh,
Pascal.
Victor Pascal.
Yeah. My favorite. So cool.
This movie had a lot of excitement coming out. It did something a little weird before it came out, where it actually blew its own twist in its own trailer.
Yeah, why did it do that?
Which, yeah, everybody's wondered. I've never heard an answer for it. Bloody Disgusting was complaining about this. It was the strongest change in the movie, the most bold
cool.
trade up, because even the way the scene was
for it.
filmed, even the way even the way the scene was filmed was to suggest that you weren't sure what was about to happen.
What we are talking about in the trailer, it is revealed that obviously Gage is not the one that dies this time. It's Ella. It's
Ellie.
like we're in the Ellie.
Yeah.
We're in this alternate universe where she's the one that gets caught this time.
Right, and they set up the scene where you weren't even, like, clearly it was intended to be a surprise, and for some reason the producers and the film company decided to cut a trailer that revealed it.
Yeah, so dumb.
It's an odd decision. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it works out.
Yeah, I seriously don't know why they did that.
Yeah.
And because it's the strongest shift in the movie, original move in the movie.
Like, I still like it, but it would have been way more of an effective Oh shit!
Yes.
That if I didn't know that it was already happening.
You can tell the creators cut that scene to be a reveal that that was supposed to shock everyone, and then it got blown on them. So I can only imagine they were furious. They clearly didn't cut the trailer. But I've seen a lot of mixed reviews on this movie, and I have to say it's strong. It was stronger than I thought it would be. I expected this movie to be really bad, and to be honest, for about 2/3 and a half, like, it was actually really strong. It was a really strong build-up. I thought it really set the atmosphere. I thought the characters were pretty engaging. You got to know everybody in this new role.
Yeah.
There's a couple things I have issue with that I'm sure we'll talk about, but it's just hitting the strengths. I'd say it set a mood. It made me jump. You guys laughed at me, but I like straight up jumped in my seat at one part. And then I would say, aside from a background story thread that we'll talk about, I thought that was useless. And I thought that the last third of the movie, the third act, was way rushed and kind of off-footed. But overall, the 2/3 of it was really pretty solid.
Yeah.
I was in it. I mean, I think I just kept hearing so much bullshit from friends and online that no one liked it. And I was like, oh man, I was getting ready for a shitstorm. But I actually didn't mind it. Obviously, I prefer the original, but I didn't mind this version.
I like that they went further into Little God Swamp. I liked that they went further into about the Wendigo in the woods, the creature that was out there that was doing all this, and behind all of this, that there was sinister an entity out in the woods that was responding to this new family coming in. And was trying to get them to, just focusing on the strengths. I thought that all the characters were believable. I really liked all the characters. Leading up to about the time that the death happens and everything starts spiraling, I was in it. I was in it, and I was like, oh, I'm into it.
Do you not agree, Screamin'?
Not really. It wasn't terrible. Like, it was entertaining. A lot of jump scares. Oh. My issue is I felt it moved too fast.
Yes.
Like the whole thing.
Definitely.
The entire thing.
It felt like
I didn't feel like the
I thought like the first two acts moved pretty slow, and then the third act was just
the relationship, but like the relationship between Jed and the family did not seem like a good one.
Apparently, that was one of the scenes they did cut out, was building a lot of relationship building between Jed and Lewis and the entire Creed family. There were scenes cut that they felt that were meant to establish more of that relationship, but they lost it because of time.
But even then, like, it was still like everyone just seemed very cold towards each other, as opposed to the first one and it kind of had to do with the actors. Like John Lithgow, great actor, nice and whatever, but. Dude, Herman Munster was like a guy, like you wanted him to be your pap.
Yeah,
he was super nice and loving, where John Lithgow was kind of like, I'm an old rugged man, and I'm kind of...
Well, yeah, in this movie, they seem to establish that Ellie won him over. And he
I felt like that was the point.
Yeah, whereas in the first movie and in the novel, Jed is far more kind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he's an old Maine farmer.
Like he's an old pappy. Hey, I'm nice. Come
Right, I think they wanted to show like a little bit of an evolution in him because of Ellie.
But it didn't, to me, it still seemed like, it seemed like a strained relationship the whole time between Judd and the dad.
Well, you know what?
I just found him like, and the dad was way more kind of like macho.
Right.
Like,
rather than a city guy out of his depth.
Yeah.
He didn't seem like he was all that out of his depth in the country.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
So, and he's always kind of like, he just seems skeptical of Judd the entire movie, which to me, I guess from the scenes, but even then it's like, I didn't feel like their relationship was a believable one of like, hey, I'm going to have you over for dinner and we're all going to be laughing in one scene. And then every other scene aside from that, my wife and me are still kind of like side-eyeing Judd.
Yeah. Like
I do see that.
in the first one, it seemed like they respected Judd more.
Yeah, he came over and just, oh, hi,
Yeah.
I'm fucking Judd.
Let me
And
help
they're
you
all-
out. Yeah,
And they're
the
like,
other
oh, man,
thing-
this guy's nice.
Well, I think, just to throw in there, I think I have an answer for you on why that was.
All right,
One of
give me-
my problems with the early acts is that side thread of the wife's, what is the mother's name? Her sister, like, she has a ton of flashbacks, and a lot of time is taken to establish about the wife's sister's death
Rachel.
from being sick.
Rachel was
Yeah.
her name.
Rachel Creed's sister, when she
Right.
was a child, died horribly from a disease and in an accident. And it was like she was sick and couldn't really move, and then died in an accident, as everyone
Yeah.
remembers. And Rachel blames herself, and a lot
Well,
of time was spent on that,
Yes.
which could have been spent on building the relationship
Well-
between the characters. You could have had more. Like that that inevitably did not go anywhere. The
Well, yeah.
entire movie.
Well, it didn't in the original either. That was always really confusing to me.
Right.
In the original, I never understood
there
that.
was
It's supposed to show her fear of death in the books. The whole reason in the novel,
Right.
it establishes her
okay.
fear of death.
Yes, and I got that way more this time, but I just thought it was unnecessary.
I feel like they could have
whatsoever.
explained that in a scene in this
Sure.
movie. She could have said,
Sure.
"My sister died horribly. I've blamed
Right.
myself for years. This is why I don't."
I just think that whole side story is just stupid because it didn't work in the original either.
Never get all about it again!
Yeah, and it didn't work this time.
Yeah, there was a lot of weird, and I think that's what took away. You only have so much time to tell a story, and I think that real estate could have been occupied
Yeah.
by more building
That
relationship.
it just bugged the fuck out of me because the relationship between Judd and the dad was never like.
It's Jed, isn't it? Jed, not Judd. Jed. I feel like it's Jed. Isn't it Jed?
I don't know. We're gonna find out.
I'm about to tell you.
We're about to find out.
Keep going.
But anyway,
Judd.
Judd,
It's
yeah.
Judd.
It just never seemed like they liked each other. Or like the dad liked him.
Yeah, right.
there
And I'm
wasn't
like,
enough time.
Yeah.
man, that's weird because in the book and in the original, like they're really
Like
close
homies,
and
yeah.
like
In the book, as I recall, Judd's wife has a heart attack. She's still alive in the book, and Victor saves her, and this is his name, the father's name, right? I'm the worst. As everyone knows, I'm the worst. Lewis.
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 Victor is the dead guy.
Yeah, that's right. Lewis saves her, and that's part of the reason that and how much he loves. He's taken to Ellie in the book as well. He shows him that area where he can bring his cat back.
Right.
And the whole purpose of is he literally explains like, it's been a while since I read the book, but I can almost recall a scene in the book where he says, I knew she wasn't going to come back the same. Your cat wasn't going to come back the same, but it would have allowed Ellie to distance herself from that cat so
Right.
that she could better accept its death
Yeah.
than if she discovered that it had been hit by a truck.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was the whole purpose. He had a very logical reason of like that cat's not going to be the same,
Which
but this will make it
leads
easier.
me to the second issue I had, which was that whole Judd's whole reasoning was super like, dude, you totally set that family up for some like bullshit.
He did.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I guess in general, even in the book, and
In the book he does too.
He did, but this one was like, hey, let's go. Like,
Well, he says in this story, he justifies it as it was his, like he felt he loved Ellie, and she touched his heart. So
Yeah, I thought the reasoning was very justified.
yeah,
Well, it was
the Wendigo fed on that and pulled him towards
yeah,
that
it was
place.
just real quick.
But I like the novel's excuse better, and I don't remember that first movie. What his reasoning was? It the same? Like I feel like in the novel it was for her to understand that her cat was not so cool. Give her some space, and then when Church died after that,
It was the same in the original.
it wasn't like Church is such a nice cat; he should be
like
fine.
being like, oh, your dead cat. I feel bad, but it was that the whole relationship between them was just better set up.
Yeah, no, because he saved his wife.
right.
He was trying to save. Like, let me help you.
Which to me made it easier for him to be like, oh fuck, I feel bad. Like I need to help them out because they're so nice to me and we have this great relationship. Whereas this one, it was just
bummer.
like, if I was Judd, getting like the vibe I got from Lewis was like he doesn't like me very much, and then all of a sudden I'm trying to help him out, which to me seems malicious. Like, damn, this dude fucking hates me. I'm gonna show them.
Well, the other thing was in the books, Judd doesn't question what is up there. I mean, he's heard some stories, but it's not like he hasn't researched it out. Like in this movie, this Judd has researched everything.
Well, yeah, and he
and
knows.
has an awareness of how bad that area is.
Yeah.
Whereas in the book, he mostly references, well, there's rumors and here's some stories, but his only experience was I buried my dog up there after somebody showed me to do it, and the dog didn't come back right. And we had to finally put him down. So to him, he's like, this is an innocuous way for your daughter to get used to her cat being gone.
Right.
She won't be as close to it. The cat's not the same. Then you can put it down. It's just a fucking cat. So it's easy. Because Judd was the kind of guy that didn't really question stuff. He was one of those old Maine guys. And he goes, it's just up there. You're not going to be able to understand it. But that's how it works. We've always accepted it. The town knows it. He tells a story about the World War II veteran, which turns out to be a Vietnam veteran, is only mentioned in an article that they look at.
Yeah, which I thought, like, there's a...
Because that was the big warning of, like, why
people.
you don't ever do people.
Yeah.
Which only further shows just how crazy Lewis got.
Wait,
like,
so what's the story with the...
Well, they're a family.
Remember in the original one?
In the original one's World War II.
I haven't watched it in a little bit.
It's in the story, but there's a guy named Timothy something. They just mention him. Anyway, in the book, he's a World War II vet. In this, they've updated it to a veteran of Vietnam. But he came back in a box. He died, and his family was dejected, and they kidnapped his body from the funeral home, and they buried him up there, and he came back wrong. Because when the Wendigo has humans, he's able to be far more...
What did he do? What did he do that was so wrong?
He was... I don't know how detailed they talk about it.
I think he killed somebody.
Yeah,
because the town came after him, and Judd was one of the guys that came after him.
Right, there was much more knowledge.
And burned him alive in the house because his dad was like, no, I'll take care of him. They're like, dude, your fucking zombie son is wrecking shit everywhere.
Yeah.
So he has to die again, and he's an abomination.
Here it is. There's a summary. So Lewis considers bringing his son back in the novel, and Judd, guessing what Lewis is planning, attempts to dissuade him by telling him the gruesome story of the last person who was resurrected by the burial ground, Timothy Bateman. Bateman was killed in action during World War II. His body was shipped back to the U.S., and his father, Bill, buried Timmy in the cemetery. Timmy came back malevolent, different, and hellish, terrorizing the people of the town with secrets that Judd asserts he had no earthly way of knowing. Judd and the rest of the men quickly fled in horror. It is revealed that to Lewis that Timothy was stopped by his father, Bill. Traumatized Bill killed Timmy and set their house on fire before shooting himself. Judd states he believes whatever comes back was not actually Timothy, but a demon that possessed his corpse and knew some of his memories, and concludes that sometimes dead is better. That place has power and its own evil purpose, and may have caused Gage's death because Judd introduced Lewis to it.
Okay, so they aren't coming back as themselves.
No.
They're just...
They're demons.
They're demons.
They're Wendigo. They're the parts of the pieces. I feel like they're pieces of the Wendigo.
I was always confused on whether they're coming back evil because they witnessed hell and they have a piece of that in them and they're just evil now. Or they're not them at all and they're just demons that kind of have a little bit of
either way.
I think they're all pieces of the Wendigo spirit, the Wendigo demon, and they have an echo. Like, you know, in lots of folklore and even in horror movies, demons always have some knowledge of the person that they're taking and can use that against you, and sometimes they know things. Yeah. I think if you were to sit down with one of these people, like Ellie, and ask her details about her life, she wouldn't be able to tell you everything, but she knows her personality enough. She knows enough about her relationship
she knows
to mess with people.
She knows that Ellie has a mother and a father and a brother.
Right, she knows some surface stuff, but it's not really Ellie. Even in this movie, there's a scene between the mother and the daughter, and when Ellie's like talking to her, and after she's come back, and the mother says straight up, like Rachel says, "Don't call me mommy. I'm not. My daughter's dead." And then Ellie goes, "Then be with her," and that's when she.
Right. Yeah. That kind of cleared it up a little bit. But when she was talking to her father in that first scene after he gives her a bath and they're laying in bed and she's talking about how I'm dead, huh? And like,
I think there's a certain
asking-
amount of confusion when it happens, you know.
Right.
I mean, it's demon possession. It's supposed to seem like, I think as it comes into being, it becomes less and less that person. You know, like maybe at first there's that echo. There's a remnant of that person in there, but I don't think it's
Right.
them. Mostly because they're all
You don't
moving
think
as
they're in
once.
there at all, or you just think their
No.
soul is still their soul is not in there whatsoever.
I don't think their soul's in there whatsoever. I think it's all just echoes, and that demon uses it. And maybe initially when it comes back, it's like, it's a, you know, it's, they're confused and they're
Right.
like, what, you know, which is why they don't ramp up. Like even Church didn't attack anybody at first or didn't do anything. Like the cat was growling but normal. Like it wasn't doing anything at first, and then as time went on, it became more established.
Yes,
of like, okay,
right.
I know what I am.
Right.
That's what I think.
It's the dad's fault. He should have just killed the fucking cat.
He should. Sometimes dead is better. Like if a ghost, like honestly, I've always thought this. Even in Amityville Horror, when that family's in that fucking house and you hear, "Get out," I'm like, fine, bye.
Yeah, I get
out.
the fuck out.
Yeah, if a ghost comes to me and goes, "Don't go to Monsterpalooza,"
I'd be like,
I'm like,
oh,
all right,
I'm
well, I
sorry,
guess I'm
guys,
watching.
I
I'm gonna
can't,
watch
Well, in
Game of Thrones
Amityville
at
Horror,
home,
it
and
was the dad was starting to get possessed by the house, which is why they didn't want to leave, because he's like, "What the fuck? we just came up here, blah blah blah."
Well, that's the thing. It's a struggle, and people choose to ignore it. In this case, like, there is Lewis Creed in every form of the story just does not heed any fucking warnings whatsoever.
Nope. Pascal. To me, he is probably the big, aside from like Judd in the movie and in the book, is like the biggest part of the movie because he plays Lewis's conscience.
He's essentially the conscience.
And
yeah.
saying like, "Don't do this shit. Don't do it. What are you doing?" Like every time Judd has like some fucked up like, "All right, I'm gonna like whatever." Pascal's
Yeah.
like, "Hey, no," like everything, and I just felt they
The way they did Pascal in the original, I really loved, and he's one of my favorite
It's
characters
more sincere.
in there.
and it's a huge character.
But I can see why they made it faint in this one, because it's supposed to be a conscience and just like a little bit of a tingling here and there. I can see why they did it that way.
Yeah. And unfortunately, again, I think it suffers. There's a certain real estate occupation here of focusing on kind of. There's some extraneous stuff that should have been taken out. A lot of that history and flashbacks and haunting that Rachel was going through, and more focus on the ghost interaction and a less rushed third act. Like it just felt like by act 3 it was just like, oh boom, and then this and then this and then this and then this
Yeah.
and this, and then we're done. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yes.
Like, I mean, I love all the twists here, we've seen it, but in the other movie that ending works better pacing wise.
Yeah,
That
Yes.
third act of Gage running around and tormenting the
movie was
family,
paced better
then
than the
Ellie is running around. I liked how that little actress portrayed Ellie, a possessed Ellie.
Oh yeah, no,
That was
she was good.
awesome.
The actors were good in it.
Yeah, this her whole thing about like, does mommy and Gage know? You know, it's like just even how she talked and how I was like, apparently the actress on set, they said they were blown away because she would literally go, okay, hold on. And she'd go stand by herself, and then she'd come back, and she'd be fully in character. And they said like she'd creep everybody out.
Yeah, she
Because
was creepy.
She could just bring it on, and just the way she looked at you and stared at you and talked and acted. She was evil.
It went from like 0 to 60 though in
The whole movie.
but especially that third act, it was like, oh, and then it was like, blah, and
Yeah,
like
it was
just
like
in
full on.
total chaos, and I'm like, man,
It felt like in Pet Sematary from the 90s, there was a much better paced, heightened sense of dread and suspense and all the action.
well, that's what made it such a good movie. It created suspense. It created like you built a relationship with the characters, and I don't know if this one, because they felt it's a remake, you already know the characters, so you don't necessarily need that connection to them, which you still had. If you're gonna sit through 2 hours of something, you still gotta be into it and be, you know what I mean, engaged with the characters. But yeah, that was That was an interesting movie. Entertaining. A lot of jump scares.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that it's worth the watch. I mean, if you're listening, you probably already fucking watched it because you know that we are not spoil free.
right. And the thing about the pacing of the first one, or the original, makes it creepier.
Yeah.
Makes the whole thing creepier. You know what I mean? Like this one was like scary, like jump scares, whereas the first one is creepy. Like the whole and another thing they cut out that I was really felt like it set up Judd or Lewis taking his child up to the cemetery was the funeral scene between where him and Rachel's dad get into it, and his dad's like, "It's your fault," wow, and they knock the coffin over, and he sees Gage in it, and all, and then he's just like,
it's just side eye
chaos.
Yeah,
Just fucking, yeah. It's kind of this.
Like that's
super.
That's so uncomfortable.
This foreshadow of chaos.
Right. No, it makes sense why you see why Lewis is driven crazy and goes for it.
Right.
Where in this movie, all we get is a side-eye dad that doesn't really do anything. Like
so yeah, that one scene where he's getting in the car, just like he looks at him, he's like
whatever, and it's not even explained why that father in this particular movie why her parents would have any problem with him in the first place.
Yeah.
Like he's a doctor. He moved his family out to 52 acres. Clearly has money. Takes care of him. Loves his kids. Loves his wife. There's no reason in this particular movie why we would have any idea that her parents would not like him. Whereas in the novel and in the first movie, it's more established.
Well, yeah, especially because it was like Ellie ran out to the road because she was out on the road, but she stayed on the road because church was coming back. So it wasn't like in the original one where they're just having fun and Gage is flying the kite and it gets dragged out to the road and no one's paying attention.
Right.
You know, and he's like, then you'd be like, you should have been watching the fucking kid, like it's your fault. But
yeah, no, you know, and it would have.
It just would have set everything up better.
It sets everything up because you see why somebody driven by grief, not thinking clearly, and blaming themselves might be desperate to do anything, even against all advice to the contrary. Especially somebody who's trying to rationalize why this exists and wouldn't understand that there's a darker element to it. It just, he would see it as like this crazy miracle that he just hasn't understood yet, but he just needs his family back. It makes more sense. In this movie, there's less clarity of it. It just sort of hides behind the sorrow of loss. Which
is my problem with a lot of remakes now, is they lose that. They just think because everyone knows the story, they can skip shit.
I definitely, I see that argument. I see that. I
and
see
it's
why
like,
that. You're right.
That's totally. They already know, so we're just gonna cut that out and just go for like the big scare.
That
it's like
so true.
You're fucking up the story, dummies. Stop doing that.
Definitely agree. So just to be clear, just as a side note, because I remember Shotzi, you mentioned this earlier. Does everybody know what a Wendigo is?
No, please explain.
Okay, there's a kind of a cool description really quick.
It's a Marvel Universe character that fights Wolverine and Spider-Man. And
there is a Marvel Universe character, but it is a folk tale originating from northeastern tribes that share the Algonquin
It's actually
language.
Manny Pacquiao.
It's a human-devouring beast, and it served as a cautionary tale against snowbound people turning to cannibalism in the throes of starvation. In various stories, the Wendigo is either created when this abomination happens, or it can possess someone and drive them to feed on the survivors or the deceased among them. In King's novel, this evil presence is what reanimates the dead and sends them back bloodthirsty and hungry for flesh. And, you know, it haunts the... there's something else written here. It haunts the woods. So it's a very... a storyteller named Basil Johnson in the Mantois wrote, "Ever hungry, they craved human flesh, which is the only substance that could sustain them. The irony is that having eaten human flesh, the Wendigos grew in size, so their hunger and craving remained in proportion to their size, and thus they were eternally starving."
And they whisper, "Wendigo."
They howl. There would be the howls. They were evidently, after wandering the woods of Canada and Minnesota, the ever-starving Wendigo made its way to Ludlow. Judge Lewis Neighbors shed some light on the history of the Wendigo and the Ludlow.
They howl. Winnebago.
I don't know if that's the
So
case.
the Winnebago made the soil sour.
Theoretically, yes.
Theoretically, yes.
Okay. So the Winnebago,
It was
like,
his territory.
okay,
the
so the
Little God Swamp.
so the
is what
Winnebago peed on the soil, and then the piss made it
Yellow.
sour, which makes
Yellow snow.
the dead come yellow. Yeah, don't eat yellow. So the moral of the story is don't eat yellow snow.
The moral of the story is anytime I try to create a scary, spooky passage, these two are going to make it about piss, shit, or farts.
Winnebago.
Winnebago.
Because they can't handle being scared. All right, so what do you guys think? Let's break it down by candy corns.
Okay.
What's your score?
Give it a 3.5.
Oh, that's pretty
3.5?
high.
Cute little undead
Yeah,
zombie candy corns?
I was entertained. I don't know why people are shitting on it so much. I don't know what you expected. Like, I don't know what you I don't know. If you liked the original, yeah, you ain't gonna get
I
that.
just expect from remakes
to be exactly the
No,
same. That's
just
what you want.
you can twist little things, but you can't cut out main parts of the story that
Like
make
wait,
the
like what?
story just the whole setup of why shit was bad and everything. It was just like it just jumps over explanations because the remakers are
I
assuming
see remakes
we already
as
know it.
alternate universes of the original film.
Yeah, but I have to
Yeah.
admit, I understand what he's saying, because I do feel like this movie summarizes everything behind the blanket of grief. Grief explains why Lewis didn't listen to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Grief explains why Judd went against his obviously extensive knowledge of Little God Swamp and would take a cat up there to get it killed. They cut out a lot of the A, B, they cut out a lot of the A, B, and C, where A is them starting, C is the result. They cut out a lot of B. You know, we didn't see Judd have a wife that Lewis helped save, so it puts him in debt and he wants to help them out. We didn't hear the explanation that he knew that the cat coming back would be different and it would help Ellie distance herself from it and be easier to lose the cat in the end.
Right.
But it was just a cat, so they didn't think it was going to be a big problem. But we didn't see the explanation of Timmy and his veteran, and we didn't see the father and Lewis conflict over the funeral,
There's so much development. It's like Cliff
they
Notes
cut a lot.
for something that you need
it
the
was
story behind it.
But there is a statement I also agree with you, Shotzi, where you say it's a lot more entertaining than I think people gave it credit for. What did everybody expect?
Totally entertaining.
Modern remakes seem to summarize these elements and kind of toss them away. I don't know why they think it's so unimportant. We discussed it in It, the remake of It. There's points that got cut out of that. Though we know if you guys listen to our episode on it, we talk about why it happened, the changing of directors, the different story elements. They had to kind of save it, but it is a modern thing where it seems like filmmakers from now have to summarize a lot. They don't like spending a lot of time on giving people reasons for stuff. It's just like, oh yeah, they were sad.
Well, why can't the movie just be longer?
Right.
There's that. There is that. The movie could be longer. Because the things that I think some people might walk away from this movie thinking that are bad, I actually think the change to Ellie, brilliant. I would have loved that as a shocker.
I loved it.
I loved more talk about the Wendigo, more talk about Little God Swamp, more explanation, because the original movie skims that shit. That they don't even talk. They just talk about how it's a weird zone and there is no explanation.
Yeah.
Indians knew about it. It's bad, but they did it anyway. But so there were so many things that they were delivering that I thought were great decisions, but they also made some weird decisions.
Family.
Now the ending.
I love the zombie family.
Real quick, I can't believe I didn't mention this. They filmed multiple endings for this movie.
Oh, what else?
And they
what
filmed.
Other endings?
Well, one is exactly how it is in the book.
Okay.
And in the last movie, where
he brings his wife back and
late at night she shows up and she even says, "Don't bury me out there," and he does anyway, and she comes back because he thinks if he buries her faster, she'll come back better.
Yeah.
But it's
because she wasn't in hell as long. Maybe.
Right, and it's not. That's not it, obviously. Then there was a Smiddle version that supposedly was fucked up.
Smiddle version?
A Smiddle
Smiddle.
version. I did say Smiddle. A middle version that apparently was a little bit more of a happier ending, but fucked up ending.
Okay, tell me.
I don't know. Actually, they didn't say what it was. But they showed all three endings.
You ain't doing enough research.
I looked everywhere. I didn't see this. They just talk about it. They don't say what it was. Probably because they're going to put it on the Blu-ray.
Right.
Yeah.
And it'll be an extra. They want everyone to see it then.
Right.
But I guess when they showed it to audiences loved the darkest ending they came up with, which they didn't expect. That's the one that tested the highest. So that's the one we saw in the movie. That ending.
I fucking dug it. I'm like, yo, Zombie Family, where's this going?
The end of it, I actually love too. I like that ending.
Can you imagine, like, if they made a second version with that ending, and there's this zombie family, and they're just fucking killing the whole town and burying
Well, who
the
set
whole
Judd's
town?
house on fire?
Oh, they did. He carried a gas can. When
Oh,
they
yeah,
walked
that's
up.
right when they were coming up.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, I'm like, what the fuck? And then
Actually, I got confused, and when I saw that, I thought they were about to set the car on fire with the kid in it. I thought that's how they were going to end it. Like, you were going to see him covered in gas. But apparently, the statement earlier in the film when he tells Ellie, when they're talking about death, that they're all going to be around for a long time.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be the wink nod to the ending.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, that like, you know, your mother, Gage, Church, and I, we're all going to be around for a long time.
the ending, the big switch, it's whatever. I'm like, yeah, it's cool. But, God, man, the bar was set so high for the death of a baby child, like a toddler, and then that toddler, that's super creepy and terrible. Like, you know, I mean, it's sad, sure, if anyone died, like kid, whatever, but to have such an innocent child die in the book, in the original,
I thought it was creepier that in the original, Gage was the one that died first, and in this one, you see him in the car, and you can only expect that his entire family
that they're gonna kill
is
him.
about to kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
And that really creeped me out.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
I think the reason it made it work for me, the actress that plays Ellie is what sold me on Ellie working. Like,
in her wonky
her
eye.
her scenes were so strong and so creepy.
Yes, I was terrified.
She's
True story.
Wasn't I fucking shaking in my boots?
Yeah,
She was booty shaking all over the place.
I
So
know.
3.5 stars from Shotzi. 3.5 zombie candy corns.
Yeah.
Or should we
How are you gonna do it?
little cute little zombie
cute little zombie candy
gauges,
Cute little undead zombie candy. Yeah, cute little zombie candy corns. There we go. 3.5.
candy gauges.
What about you?
I think I like it too.
2.
Yeah,
I'm
there's
2.5, 3. I'll say 3. I'll be right in the middle.
just too much of the development and the actual story behind what the fuck is wrong was cut out, and it just skipped too much shit for me to be like, oh, cool, remakes are cool, but you still got to have a story in it, and that I think the story suffered a lot.
I had a good time.
Entertaining though, I'll say it's entertaining.
It's like a Cliff Notes version.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely, like you say, I think you hit the nail on the head with that, is that there's some mistakes made in editing. It's the editing. In the editing, this movie suffered. They gave certain aspects of the movie far more real estate than it deserved, and not enough real estate of film time to other parts, including the third act, so that the third act feels rushed. And I think that some relationships suffered from it.
And no main accents.
And I think it falls flat. No main accents at all. So it falls a little flat. But it's better than people... I think people are being a little too hard on it. I think it was better than that. It has some really cool aspects to it. It comes close to being awesome. Like, if they'd have just edited this a little differently, this movie really could have, like, stole the thunder from the first movie. I think it had the ability to do it. It could have done it, but it needed better. It needed a better pacing. And
even with the better pacing, I still think the first one the book is just way more. I think it's creepier.
I mean, the book is, they're not going to top the book itself. I don't even think the old movie tops the book. But we'll do a podcast about the original Pet Sematary at some point here.
With some special guests, possibly.
We need to talk about that. I think it's worthy of its own episode. But
Full
all right,
shizzle.
there it is, guys. Thank you so much for listening.
This is Monster Candy Podcast, little buttholes.
I think we're out. Have a good one.
Deuces.
Sometimes
Bananas are better.
Ha!
bananas are better.
Sometimes bananas are better.
You've been listening to Monster Candy Podcast. Want to find out more about the show? Find us on the web at monstercandypodcast.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram by searching Monster Candy Podcast. And you can find our Twitter at MonsterCNDYPC. Hey, we couldn't fit the whole name. What do you want from us? Let us know what you think of the show and if we're right or if we're wrong or what you want us to tackle next. We want to hear from you. Well, Shotzi and I do, but I can promise that E doesn't really care. To find out more about Shotzi Blackheart and her professional wrestling, follow her Twitter at Shotzi Black or her Instagram at Shotzi Blackheart. You can follow Screamin E's band, the Memphis Murder Men, on Facebook at TMMM official page or his Instagram at Screamin E. That's screaming with no G, add the E. For me, Dominic Davi, you can find my artwork at dominicdavi.com, my band Tsunami Bomb at tsunamibomb.net, and you can hear my other podcast, 3 Gigs, at 3gigspodcast.com or on the same platform you're hearing this podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Monster Candy Podcast.